First thing I'm going to show you here is this handy dandy hat mount for the GoPro. I'm going to be using that later today when I go fishing. It's made by Streamaroo. You can check it out at streamaroo.com, or I actually got mine from eBay. Well, we're here at the fishing site and just getting prepared to try to catch some panfish. It looks pretty much glass calm, and there's a lot of fish in here. I spooked some when I first got into the area. I'm going to try to catch a few on top. I've got a olive parachute clink hammer here. I'm going to give it a try. It's a little bit big, but I caught a couple on it yesterday. I'm going to give it a try again. Get some floating on there. Work it into the hackle. Primarily, you don't want to get it on the bottom part of the fly. You want that to dangle below the water. It's an emerger pattern. Gives them something to grab a hold of, just like people dangling their legs off a raft in Jaws or something. They seem to like that. Come on, guys. Oh, that's a nice gill. On the on the olive clink hammer. Now he's down in that coontail. Want him down there. There he comes. That one will be one for the box. Nice one. Probably 7.5 or so inches. Get him off of here. Bring him away. In the box. Got just some fresh water in there. Try to keep him alive for a couple hours. Then I'll either clean him or put him on ice. There's a bass of about 12 inches, but I bet you I've frightened him because he saw me and moved out of the way. And I don't seem to have a lot more takers on that, so I think that we're going to take a break for a second and switch fly rods and try something a little different. Well, here I've picked up my 3-weight BVK fly rod, and I've got kind of a midge pupa on there. It'll sink fairly slow. We'll see what it'll do for them. Get them a little bit below the surface. There's a good gill cruising right there. I don't know if I can get him for you. A lot of times you don't have to get a huge distance from yourself or the boat. It helps if there's a little chop on the water, though. A lot of times you can catch them fairly close in. You don't have to be a super expert fly caster to do this. Well, we got lucky. A little bit of chop come up on the water, just enough to where it'll make it a little harder for them to see me. I picked up another fly rod. I've got a barbless nymph with actually some little rubber legs worked into the dubbing at the meaty part of it there, and a little bit of flash to it. They usually work pretty well. I'll go completely subsurface, and I'll see how that works out, even though some are going to apparently hit on top. Usually there's many more below the surface, even when they are biting on top, than what there are actually on top. And see, what happened there is I just went to pull line for a back cast, and we got a keeper gill pretty much as soon as it hit the water. I think that one's a keeper. Yeah, he's still over 7, so that's a keeper. You're actually better off keeping some of your larger average size fish than the fish of extreme size. Leave some of those bigger ones for spawning, thin out some of the others to make more feed for the rest of the fish. Try to get this in the stripping basket. boat, and we'll see if we can actually make a full cast without catching a fish, which is a heck of a problem to have. And that's kind of a cast. Need to stretch my fly line. Yeah, I got a few bugs coming off the top of the water. Didn't get much of a cast out of that. And we got another one. You don't have to go a long ways from the boat, folks. Usually, you really don't. Like I said, a little bit of chop on the water immediately turned them around as to how spooky they are. And get it worked back out here. Should be plenty far enough. I'm thinking it should take less than a minute to catch another one. And they might be trying to make a liar out of me. Oh, maybe not. I had a bump there. Pretty close to the boat. There is some coontail right down there. And there's another one. Ooh, that's a nice one, I think, too. It's pulling pretty well. And doing its circles, bulldogging. Yeah, that's a good eating size gill. There's 5 in the box, and like I said, a few of them were hitting on top. There were some bugs flying around. Still, the subsurface fly seems to be putting them in the hand quicker than fishing on top. You're really missing out if all you do with the fly rod is fish poppers and spiders. Even though I fished those too, I just had a take and missed him. Put it back out there again. But if all you do is the topwater stuff, you're really missing out. Well, getting close to the boat back where I got a few other ones. There's another one. I think that's another keeper too, folks. Gotta keep your line tight. Ooh, try to keep them out of the weeds. Keep your line tight. I don't know whether you can see this. That's a nice one. That one's probably close to 8 inches. Hand size gill. But watch, with these barbless hooks, watch how easy that comes out. That's all it takes. And your fish is going to be gone. You give them slack. Oh, just had a little tap. And there's one. And you can really kind of put the boots to these bluegills until they get about, 8.5, 9 inches long. You don't need a heavy rod. A lot of people make a mistake. That one's over 7. I think I'm going to keep him. A lot of people make a mistake of using a bass powered rod, 7 to 9 weight for bluegills, and really they should probably start with a 5 to a 6, and then the 5 weight is actually the heaviest one that I've got with me now that I regularly use. I use a 3 weight, a couple of 4 weights, and a 5 for throwing my very heavy flies. One's tungsten bead flies and the like. Which I did use a tungsten bead fly, kind of an odd looking fly. Looks like a bass jig, actually. yesterday, and I did catch an honest 9.5-inch bluegill on it. There's another one. That's a nice gill. That one might be pushing 8 inches. I don't know if you can see him flash. I'm not sure, this is the first time trying to make a video with this camera. I'm not sure exactly what all you can see. I'll get him in here. That's a nice gill. Getting to be some down there. Get it back out there and see. I'm letting the video run. If it actually shows the time after the final editing, which I think it will, and you see the video, you can tell exactly how long it takes between fish, and it usually isn't that long. If you're getting into them at springtime, early spring, these fish are in here. They aren't in here to spawn. A lot of people will say, oh, you know, the water's 50 degrees and there's a whole bunch of fish up shallow, they're going to spawn. Not the case for these bluegills. Crappies this time of year, it's mid-April in southern Michigan, are probably getting ready, but I just missed one. I don't think that they're spawning yet, and that was a lousy cast back to that area. But they aren't up in here spawning. They're actually up in here because they're hungry. And it takes a lot of energy for them to build their eggs and spawn. And they don't eat an incredible amount then. Wow, we're down there bulldogging. It's another nice gill. And it is a very nice gill, and unfortunately for me, as you can see, in the state of Michigan, that one made a swipe at it, and it's actually hooked in the orbit of the eye. Barbless hook though, it come out, it didn't pierce the eyeball, and I don't think that's going to be a blind fish. But I got to throw him back, because it says that if it's foul hooked, it goes back in the state of Michigan. As you can see, folks, a little bit of ripple, the wind kicked up just a tad again, about immediately. There's another bluegill. Try getting right back out there before cover dies down that the wind creates, and then they'll be able to see me again, and they'll be a little bit more spooky. Either ticking the top of the weeds, or I'm getting some little nudges that aren't really picking it up good. That actually, I seen the fly line move, that was a nudge. And there's a fish, nice one. Right off the edge there, you can probably see where it goes to really light and then starts to get darker. That's another good one of, that's got to be 8 inches or so. By the way, I also tie all of my own flies, and I would love to have some of you folks out there help me pay for fly tying materials. So if you want to contact me at handcannon39@att.net, I'd be happy to try to work something out with you. It's hard to leave when you're catching fish, particularly good ones, but I think that a lot of them are actually up there a little shallower. And I might be catching them faster on a smaller dry fly or an emerger. But like I said, it's hard to leave fish when you're catching them good. That's about another 7-incher, but since your limit is 25 here in Michigan, I'm going to let that one go. Hope for some bigger ones. I know they're in here. around the rod tip. Don't get discouraged if this kind of thing happens to you, because it happens to most people. Actually, the ones that tell you it never happens to them are lying. I had a couple kind of mouth in it. If they really want that thing, they'll suck it in pretty good. I think, yeah, hard to tell how big that was. Feisty though. Doing his bulldog routine. Yeah, that one's keeper as well. If you wonder why I'm holding them up in the air, I don't know exactly how far down that wide angle lens on that camera will reach. So I want you to get a look at them. One more and I promise I'm going to move the boat and show you what an emerger can do. Right after I get my fly line untangled. There, now we got our fly line untangled. Right on that edge. Work it out. Had one. If you're making a poor cast and it feels like your line's going to pile up, sometimes you can stop it from going out and it will actually straighten and turn over. This is what I just had one when I picked it up. Just like that very first one I got on the nymph, if you remember. Usually when they hit, you just feel a little bit of tension on the line when you're stripping it in. You don't usually feel a tap. Sometimes you will. That's a small one. I'm going to take a break here for a second and put on a different small emerger after I get this guy off the hook. Let him go and we'll try that. Okay folks, we moved the boat. We're up towards the edge of the really shallower water. I put on a small emerger. This one's a little bit different. That's a size 16. It's not going to have any part of it really float. It's going to be totally subsurface but sink very slowly. And I think I might be actually too close to these bluegills because I can see them like 10 feet from the boat. We'll see how hungry they really are. We'll drop it and see how hungry they are. Pretty hungry. I just had one pick it up. Again, if you got a little bit of that nice wave cover, not blowing a gale, but a little bit, you can get away with being fairly close to your quarry. And there's a bluegill on that. Now I got to be particularly careful. And that's a keeper. Now see, folks, here's just what I was talking about. Somebody probably caught that rascal in the eye before. Now I don't think the one I caught earlier is going to wind up that way because it didn't pierce the eyeball and tear it all up. But anyhow, that's a half blind one. I'm going to put him in the box. And no, that's not the only reason that I was able to catch him so close to the boat. I'll catch another one probably right here in a second, as soon as I can get the fly line out past the tip top. I don't think I'm casting more than 30 feet there. No more than 30. And there's another fish. Just nice and easy. What I was saying is you got to play them fairly light. That's a small hook. That's a number 16. It's barbless. The one advantage is there's very few negative cues, and so they will take it fairly deep. But watch, with this barbless hook, I can actually use my finger as a disgorger. Usually it'll pop right out like that, without too much terrible harm to the fish. Now we're going to straighten that back out. You want your knot to come out fairly close to the top of the fly and pull it horizontally rather than have, well, the top, the front of the fly. If it's right on top, you're going to get kind of a jigging action to it, which I don't think is quite as effective. Again, a very short cast. There's enough chop that I can't actually see the fish now. But, oh, I just missed it. They're still there. Okay, that was a little odd, folks. I just put one well over 8 inches into the box, and the darn camera started beeping. It's my first time using it. I don't know why it did that, but it decided to shut itself off, so hopefully it won't do that again real soon. Well, folks, if you can even see this, we've got quite a few in the box. I'm going to try to get a few more. This camera keeps acting up and shutting off. So anyhow, should be some good eating there, and I'll probably finish out my limit here within an hour or so and head for home. But